Good morning, 8th grade. Happy Easter. Happy Dingus Day. Hope you guys had a fabulous spring break and you are well rested and ready to rumble! Alright, my friends, go ahead and hit pause to try to figure out the definition and part of speech of prattle. Okay, so we have the word prattle, prattled, and prattles, which tells us the part of speech must be a verb because it's the only part of speech that changes based on tense. Let's look at that first sentence. After Ted awoke from his coma, he began to prattle about the accident. If you woke up from a coma and you had an accident, you'd probably begin to talk about the accident. Prattle means to talk, and especially if you look at that third sentence, my mother prattles so endlessly. So to prattle is not just to talk, but to talk a lot. Like, look at those snakes up in the top. That one snake is prattling on and on and on. Now let's look at the word prattling for a moment. What part of speech is a rattlesnake? A rattlesnake is a noun. It's an animal. It's a tangible thing. So what kind of a rattlesnake is it? It's a prattling rattlesnake. So what's interesting about the word prattling, I could be prattling away, but I could also be a prattling person. Prattling can also be an adjective, which is kind of interesting. And basically, it means the same thing. It's just, again, it's describing someone and saying that they talk a lot. So very good. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to go and check your PowerSchool. Okay, so hit pause. If you don't know your PowerSchool login, you should reach out to your homeroom teacher and ask them how to get onto PowerSchool, or have your parents check your PowerSchool. Make sure you have all of your assignments turned in, and if you do not, go ahead and turn those in. If you have any questions, please reach out to me through Remind or email or Google Classroom, and I will help out any way I can. But I'm not kidding. Hit pause and go check your PowerSchool. Today, before we do anything, I want to practice a skill that I think is super important for you guys as you get ready for high school. And that is anticipating counterarguments. This is something that is going to set you up for success in high school. This is the next step I want you to take in your writing. Your guys' essay writing has gotten better and better and better, and this is one way that I want to see your writing go to the next level, okay? And the way that you're going to do that is by, when you are arguing something, I want you to start anticipating what other people are going to say against your writing, okay? And that's what anticipating counterarguments is all about. So to anticipate is to look forward, to try to guess what will happen. And a counterargument, do you remember what a counterargument is? The counterargument is the best argument against what you are arguing. It's not what you are arguing. It's the opposite of what you're arguing. It's the best argument against you. So think about this. You're arguing one thing. The counterargument is what the naysayers are going to say. It's what the haters will say against your argument. So I want to practice this together. And we're going to practice this, and we're going to drill it so that it becomes second nature. So let's say you were arguing that Paris is a hero. That's what your essay is all about. Paris is a hero. So the counterargument, is it what you're arguing? No, it's what they will say. So the first thing you need to do is you need to point out that this is not what I'm saying. This is what some will say. So when we do our counterargument, we always start, some will say, and then we plug in the opposite. You're arguing Paris is a hero. What's the opposite of Paris is a hero? Paris is not a hero. And then we need because. That because is super important. Again, a counterargument is the best argument, the best reason against what you're saying. So you have to actually supply the reasoning, right? You can't just say some are going to say Paris is not a hero. We got to know, oh, this is why they say it. We need the reason. Let's practice with another example. Romeo is a villain. Again, is this what you're arguing? No, this is what some will say. And the opposite of Romeo is a villain is that he's not a villain. Did I forget something? I forgot the because. Exactly, we need that reasoning. Some will say Romeo is not a villain because. Now, I want to show you why it's so important that we say some will say. Imagine I'm writing an essay, and in one paragraph I say Romeo is a villain. And then in the next paragraph I say Romeo is not a villain. Your reader is going to be so confused. They're going to be like, wait, I thought you just said that Romeo was a villain, and now you're saying he's not a villain? Are you like schizophrenic? Like, are there two sides of you? Like, what's going on? So again, with our counter arguments, we always have to point out this is not what I am arguing. This is what some people will say. Some will say. Some will say. Okay? So it's super important. Otherwise, you're going to confuse your reader. Now, you could say, instead of some will say, you could say one might object, or others might say, or one might argue. There are other ways that you can say it. But I want you to practice some might say over and over and over again until it's second nature. And then we can start diversifying and using different, okay? Let's practice with this one. Students should wear uniforms. Is that what you're arguing? No. Some will say, what's the opposite? Students should not wear uniforms because they want to be comfortable. All right, are you ready for the rapid fire round? Pumpkins are spookier than skeletons. Is it what you're arguing? No. Some will say pumpkins are not spookier than skeletons because. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to practice these next ones on your own. Hit pause and just go boom, boom, boom. Just go right through them. If you haven't hit pause. Practice these. I'm going to do them with you. Ready? Some will say Kool-Aid is not better than Gatorade because. Next. Some will say school should not be longer because. Some will say snakes are not creepy because. Very good, my friends. So, just like with anything, with baseball, for example, you're building that muscle memory, right? You don't go and practice just hitting the ball once, right? You practice it over and over and over again. So what we want to do is we want to practice anticipating those counterarguments so many times, and we just go, some will say, here's the opposite, and here's why, because. We want to practice that over and over again so it becomes second nature. All right? So that's why we do that. And I'm going to hopefully start seeing that in your writing. That's what I want to start seeing. We'll keep working on it. Here's what we're going to do. You guys are going to start reading The Outsiders. And before you begin, I want to review point of view because I want to make sure that you, and I want to see if you can identify correctly what point of view the story is told in. All right? So we're going to review point of view for a second. And this story is called Milocutio the Miraculous. All right? So each page of this story will be told in a different point of view. And you're going to tell me, is it first, third limited, or third omniscient? Milo, spit it out! No, not Mercutio! I screamed. Milo looked up at me, the whites of his eyes wet with doggy tears. Sock puppet Mercutio hung cockeyed from his mouth. Oh, Milo, why do you chomp everything? I asked, exasperated. Hit pause and try to figure out what point of view. Mr. O looked down at poor sock puppet Mercutio. His sword was split. One googly eye was dangling like a loose shopping cart wheel. Like a loose shopping cart wheel? Simile. Good. And there was a puncture wound straight through Mercutio's chest. How am I going to finish the play now? Mr. O thought to himself. So you going to let me finish that sock? Milo wondered as he casually started sniffing. Hit pause and try to figure out the point of view of this page, number 2. Angela, quick, get some gauze, Mr. O yelled. Mrs. O ran into the sunroom. Oh my gosh, the humanity! Mr. O started chest compressions. We need more gauze! After 3 rounds of CPR and several rescue breaths, Mrs. O grabbed Mr. O's shoulder and shook her head. Mr. O didn't want to believe it. A feeling of dread filled his empty stomach. He was so young, he thought. Go ahead and hit pause to try to figure out what this page's point of view is. Okay, let's start with this page because we're already here. First question you ask, isn't I telling the story? Nope, it's Mr. O yelled, Mr. O thought, all this. He thought. So it's told by a narrator, which means it is third person. How many people's thoughts do we hear? Just one. So it's limited to just one. So look at number 2. Mr. O looks down at the sock puppet. How am I going to finish the play now? And then Milo also wondered. So, first question. Isn't I telling the story? I did this, I did that. No, it's Mr. O thought to himself. Milo wondered. He wondered. She did. So, who's telling the story? Not an I, it's a narrator. And how many characters' thoughts do we hear? Mr. O's and Milo's. So instead of being limited, it's omniscient. Omni, all, nascent, knowing. So all knowing. This last, page number 1, I screamed. Milo looked up at me. I asked. So the I is telling the story. So that is first person. Very, very good. So now I want to talk to you about your homework, which is due on Wednesday, okay? Try to turn this in before 9 a.m. on Wednesday, okay? If you don't, that's okay. Turn it in when you can, but try to turn it in before class on Wednesday. What you're going to do, you're going to read Chapter 1 of The Outsiders. So first step, you need to make sure you have your book. I delivered books to every single one of you. I hope. I haven't heard from all of you, so I'm hoping you got your book. If you did not get your book, you need to email me and tell me, Mr. O, I did not get my book. Okay? That's very important. I'm going to show you in a moment what you can do if you don't have your book yet, though. Okay? And then I'm going to show you, you're going to read Chapter 1, and you're going to list, I have a chart that I made for you, and you're going to list all these character traits that come up with each of the characters. So I'm going to go to the internet really quick. First thing I want to show you, if you can't find your book because you left it in your room or something, this is something you can always do. If you type in Outsiders, PDF, Chapter 1, literally the first thing that pops up is a copy of the book that you can read online, okay? So if you do not have your book yet, which all of you should, but if you don't, you can read the book online. And all you got to do is type in Outsiders PDF. PDF stands for Printable Downloadable File. Okay? So that's number 1. Number 2, I want to pull up your assignment. Okay? So here's your homework. It's called homework number 1. We'll go ahead and click on it, and it'll pop up. What you're going to do is you're going to read Chapter 1. And anytime we hear something new about a character, you're going to plug in info about them, okay? So it's very important. When you first meet someone, our introductions, they shape what we think about that person. So I want you to record what we learn about each character. It's going to help you keep them straight. And S.E. Hinton does it very purposefully, okay? So, I don't know, we're reading page 1 and we find out Derry has green eyes. I'm just kidding, he doesn't actually have green eyes. Or does he? I want you to just go in, I want you to list physical features, hair, those kinds of things, and also other important information. Oh, this is what his job is. Here's how he feels about Ponyboy. Okay, so you're going to plug in different information about each character, okay, and just these 6 characters. Don't worry about any of the other characters, okay? When you're done, please hit turn in, and please try to turn that in before class on Wednesday. The other thing I want to show you is a material I made for you, okay? All this material is it shows you when all the readings and what the homework will be, okay? It sounded like, through your feedback, that you wanted a schedule. So here is a schedule telling you when each reading will be due and what the homework will be. All right. Please email me if you have any questions. Another good place to ask me questions is right here on the stream. Okay? Feel free to ask me a question on the stream. You have finished watching the video, so please comment "done" down below. Love you guys. Later.